Hello, the lesson will cover the tax law changes and forms update for 2020. Um, this is a listing of the new updated tax forms. The first return that you see is the new Form 1040 SP. 1040 is in a Spanish version. The 1040 NR, non-resident alien tax return, now looks like a regular 1040, 2 pages, as opposed to the 1 page from the year before. That's what it looked like last year. Schedule LEP is going to be a form that will allow the client to communicate with the IRS, telling the service that they would like their notices sent to them in their native language. It also will allow for those that have the disabilities that they can request those in a certain format. This is what the form looks like. As you can see, there are up to um, 19 other or 20 languages that the client can receive forms in their native language. And this is that portion of Form 9000, which allows the same, where clients can request the service communicate with them with alternative some media, such as large print or braille, audio MP3 file, or a braille ready file. Form 1040X has been amended. The current revision is January of 2020. This is the new Form W4. Form 1099 NEC. We'll spend a few minutes on this. In the past, we've worked with Form 1099s miscellaneous. This entry was always in box number 7. Now, beginning with the 2020 tax year, it will be its own form. Purpose of this is so that the 1099 NECs are supposed to be in the hands of the recipients by January 31, pretty much like a W-2. 1099 NECs are in scope as long as the volunteer has passed the advanced um, level. Qualified tuition plans. This particular provision, just by way of some background, you may have a 529 plan invested on behalf of a child who's in college. Those funds could be withdrawn to pay for education. The earnings are tax free. Well, under the CARES Act, now you can use that 529 some funds, principal and interest, to pay off student loans up to $10,000. That's what this slide is all about. Also, under the CARES Act, there is an emergency financial aid grant that was given to students to cover unmet needs or expenses related to COVID, such as uh, um, the technology, childcare, healthcare, um, uh, that caused you to come out of pocket. There were some funds available through CARES Act. These next two slides indicate that the amount of the grant is not taxable and they can't be used to claim education credits, whether it's lifetime learning or it's American Opportunity or tuitions and fees deduction. Next is charitable contributions. Um, this provision allowed for a $300 above the line charitable contributions as a deduction. So think of above the line deduction as student loan interest deduction. That's one of the few above the line deductions that are still left. That's available to possibly everyone. Well, now with charitable contributions, there's a $300 above the line deduction, not a credit, but a deduction, and it will go on line 10A. From a taxpayer perspective, the way to handle this would be to I'm sorry, the $300 have to be a cash contribution, not in kind. So, therefore, when you are in TaxSlayer and you would enter the amount of the contributions in on the itemized deduction under the Schedule A. If it turns out the other expenses will not exceed the standard deduction for that filing status, then the $300 will appear on 10B of the tax return. One of the other provisions of the CARES Act was self-employed individuals being able to defer payment of 50% of the Social Security tax for the period March 27, 2020, ending December 31 of 2020. So the forms that are used to accomplish this is the SE Form 1040 Schedule 3. And this is a screenshot of that particular section. The next few slides have to do with this way to allocate. The slides will be available on the MCTC website, and you can download this portion of it so that you can study it further. But for purposes of this presentation, I won't spend a lot of time in this area. What this slide talks about is that the health savings account now has been moved from its own certification level to the advanced level. Typically, you'll find this where there's an entry code W on the box 12, in box 12 of your W-2. In addition, there may be other forms that the health carrier would provide at year end. So for purposes of this slide, it just says that we're now able to prepare those returns. Qualified to medical, so over-the-counter meds and some medications are now reimbursable without a prescription. So presumably in years past, you could only use funds that are from the health savings account for prescribed some medications. Now you can use it for over the counter. This slide talks about how Schedule C returns are within scope as long as the expenses, the income is up to 35,000. It had been 25,000. These next two slides talk about the Medicare's waiver payment. If you're not familiar with this, think in terms of consumer directed services. where you may have where you may be caring for an elderly parent, and the state of Missouri would pay you a certain amount of money to care for that relative, and you also live in the house. Well, that income will not be taxable for federal purposes. However, if you have a dependent child who may also be living in the home, um, I guess a three-generation household, and those payments would qualify for calculating earned income credit. So while it's not taxable for purposes of your of identifying your adjusted gross income, it is available for as a part of your earned income credit computation. This is a screenshot of the Pub 4012, but from a taxpayer perspective, there is a box on the W-2 for you to reflect that. The next several slides um, creates talks about how the CARES Act created two new credits. This is a credit for sick leave for certain self-employed individuals, and a credit for family leave for certain self-employed individuals. So again, since this is a self-employed area, I won't spend as much time going through this. But what this is it's a refundable credit. That's one of the high points. It would take a few minutes to go through the slides, and again, these slides will be available for download, or I will that you could study the notes a bit closer. This slide talks about how to claim the credit, and it's on the Form 7202. This is a screenshot of that form. And this is just a general definition of a self-employed individual who is eligible. Volunteered months. So this slide here again goes back to your scope. This is a calculation part. That's how much are you able to claim. So the taxpayer has to be unable to work. Again, this taxpayer is someone self-employed. So they're entitled to a sick leave credit up to the lesser of $511 per day, or 100% of their average daily self-employment income, for a maximum of 10 days. To all intents and purposes, the calculation that's going to be used would be the latter, the 100% of their average the daily self-employment income. And by definition, the daily self-employment income is net income, not gross income. Again, I'm not going to go through the details of this. In this slide, there's a sick leave credit. Again, you have to have caught COVID, or caring for someone who has it. So this is a sick leave situation. So this is a family member who caught COVID, and how you might be eligible for a credit. Again, the likelihood is that you will be using the calculation of 67% of their average daily self-employment income for a maximum of 10 days. And this is an example, again, another example. So that about concludes the information on the sick and family leave credit. We may not see a lot of it because it relates to self-employed individuals. Okay, thank you very much for your time.